always out this week. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Windbreaker podcast. Marty here, as always, out this week on holiday, but chat, hachi machi, a genuine hachi machi. Machi, 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 I dug this grave myself, and it's holy shit! This is not a way to live. It's overwhelming, and it's like, and it's tough because it doesn't spark joy. Are we free? Machi, hachi, a genuine machi, hachi.
This video is brought to you by GameMaker. If you've ever wanted to get into game development, GameMaker does this really crazy thing where it's free. Just start making and only pay when you want to release your game to the world commercially.
It's fast, it's user-friendly, and there's easy-to-follow tutorials, plus a dedicated community to help answer even my questions. How make man jump? GameMaker is a 2D game engine that's helped bring some of yours and my favorite recent experiences to life, like UFO 50, Chicory, Anton Blast, and of course, Yahtzee's own Starstruck Vagabond.
Ooh, we talking about GameMaker? I love that program, it's so easy to use. As well as Starstruck Vagabond, I also used it to make all 12 projects in my 12 games in 12 months Dev Diary challenge. And I couldn't believe how much sex I got out of that. None. I got none at all. Which I couldn't believe.
So what are you waiting for? Head on over to the GameMaker link in the description and start cracking away today, because we want to play your game.
Yeah, looking through this list, I'm seeing one of you made Armpit Fart Tycoon, and I've got several questions for you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Windbreaker's podcast, and welcome back me, because I wasn't here last week. I'm back from holiday, all bronzed with a very sleepy pup. I'm joined by Jay and Nick this week, because now it's Marty's turn for holidays.
Hey, yo,
See, we can't,
it's me.
We can't all go out at once. It's like how the president and the vice president have to fly in different planes.
Yeah, and then I'm gone next week, so
Yes,
we're all
crazy.
taking turns.
I know. It's like 3 weeks without the usual lineup. It's like, what are we, the fucking Grateful Dead?
100%.
Anyway.
Stages.
We don't even remember where Marty went to for this vacation.
Yeah, he's just...
Yeah, we usually get topics in, and it's just, without Marty to suggest topics, we were just floundering. We were just like,
yeah, like
what do we do?
Like 8 o'clock last night. We're like, shit. We've been playing Death Stranding 2. There we go. Open worlds. Which ones are good? Which ones are bad? Although it is quite fitting, because as well as playing Death Stranding 2, I've also got my Mind's Eye review coming out, which is a good example of a bad open world.
There we go.
So we've got 2 case studies to start with. First of all, how are you finding Death Stranding 2, Nick?
I finally started it over the weekend, and I'm really enjoying it. It just feels like a much more refined version of the first game, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah,
So kind of asshole, really.
The story, at least at the front of it, seems easier to follow than the first game too.
Well, you say that. I want to say it doesn't feel like much has changed since the previous one, although it's been a while since I played it, and there's still a lot of annoyances in the core gameplay. And Kojima still hasn't gotten over his old story writing problems, where he doesn't really know how human emotions work, like he's some kind of machine intelligence from the future. Speaking of,
you mentioned before, tone shifts are an issue with his writing.
To be fair, what kind of emotions would you have in that world?
Well, I was actually feeling quite emotionally affected by some stuff that happens early on in the game.
Yeah, fair.
Which I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But then, like 2 scenes later, it's like, hey, here's your new colleague, Doll Man, the man who is a doll.
Yeah, it's Not
What
a
sort of
lot
tone
makes
are we-
sense in this world. I'll say that.
What sort of tone are we trying to set here? I mean, you can have a weird world where weird stuff happen, but there is such a thing as verisimilitude as well. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the open world. And
Yes.
I'd say it is a strength of Death Stranding's that it is an open world game, and does feel quite epic to explore it.
Okay.
So one of the
Because there's someone. Carry on, Nick.
I was just gonna say one of the thoughts I put out yesterday was it's like Death Stranding is so barren. There's not a lot to do in the open world besides traverse it, and I feel like I'm way more engaged in that than I am in the vast majority of open world games I play that are chock full of content.
Well, you know what, Nick? Saying there's not much to do in Death Stranding except traverse it is like saying there's not much to do with a cigarette except smoke it. That's all you can do with it. That's the whole point. That's all there is to do with it.
Sure.
And the traversal is like the constant presence of that game, because that's the core gameplay. You have to figure out how to get to places.
Yep, but there's still the process of actually making that fun.
Yeah, making sure you've got the equipment to get over ridges, and like you can construct zip lines and roads and stuff to cover the difficult parts. Make sure you're not carrying too much. It's a game about planning, really.
Okay, because that's interesting to me, because as an outsider, as we've spoken about many times on Windbreaker, and this will change, I have not played any Kojima games, and these games especially intimidate me because I'm kind of interested in the story, but whenever I look at it as an outsider, I think, because I haven't felt the minutiae of what it's like to actually engage with the traversal, just by looking at it, it looks kind of boring. But that's me understanding. I don't know the actual mechanics of how it all works. Like, and that's my question to you guys: is it just planning, or is there like the actual walking? Is it kind of like QWOP?
You as a game designer would really enjoy this game, because
I'm sure
there's planning involved, but there's also like the open world itself is almost a puzzle on how you get across it.
Yeah,
and you have to come up with solutions on the fly.
The difficult element of walking is that you're carrying shit on your back, and you can't let the shit get too damaged. So you can't just jump down off a mountain range and like sprint all the way to where it's supposed to go, because you might trip, and you got to worry about like the weight balance. There's a lot of tech that goes into figuring out what happens to the weight on your back if you accidentally shift to the left too quick, and etc.
Okay, because like you said, Nick, is like a puzzle. So in the sense of what might look like to an outsider just a barren landscape of nothingness, that kind of small cliff that you're approaching becomes this monumental challenge that you have to think about, rather than in any other game it would be, I'm just gonna IK rig slide up this hill. But you can't really do that here.
Yeah, compare it to like Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I keep going back and forth playing a bunch, is like that game has a very, very beautiful open world to traverse, but it's like I can just spam A and run up a mountain and climb trees and do whatever.
Yes.
And there's not really any thinking involved. But in Death Stranding,
it embodies the usual issue with open worlds that are open worlds just for open world's sake, in that it's really just line yourself up with where you need to go and press forwards. Like, I've always thought that about Horizon as well, and Elder Scrolls games.
Yeah, but Death Stranding...
Death Stranding, it's important what route you take.
Yeah, if you see like a river, you have to take into account like how deep that river is, because if you step in too deep, you will fall and lose all your gear, and your gear will float down the river because you fell and it fell off your back. So you need to figure out a way to construct a bridge, or put a ladder over it, or find another way around it, or whatever. Sometimes sometimes none of those solutions work if the river is too wide. So you have to find, traverse, go up the stream and try to find a more shallow point or whatever. But in like Death Stranding 2, even weather comes into play, where once it rains, a river will become even more
like swells.
Yeah, swells,
yes,
and
yes.
can be unpredictable.
Does it make the environment slipperier if it rains, and like harder to actually walk around?
Yeah, and snow is hard to trudge through as well, because it goes up to your knees.
Yeah, I think if you play Death Stranding, like it'll change how you think about just traversing open worlds, because that's what the first game did for me, where I get like
yeah, and you
immensely
say it
bored.
sounds, and well, you say it sounds boring, and it kind of is, because it's boring in the sense that Shadow of the Colossus is boring. It's a lot of contemplative exploring the environment, broken up with the odd bit of excitement.
It's not that. So the words there, I don't think it sounds boring. I think just from looking at it, it looks boring. But that's because I understand. I don't know the minutia of everything that goes into all of its mechanics. But like you guys explaining it makes me want to play it. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, should I tackle the first one and
Yes,
go into the
give
second?
it a go. Give it a go.
Yeah.
See how you feel.
I own 2
Although,
copies of it, so
there you go.
I should probably do that. But I think something you guys were touching on, and I think it's super important. I've touched on this in a Elden Ring video when I was talking about its open world. It's not enough in an open world game to have motives, like things on cliffs or areas you need to go to, and just have the player go from one place to another. That's very Far Cry-y. There are just little camps that you go to, and in between them, the traversal between motives needs to be engaging. Whether that's through engaging in combat or ambushes, or the actual traversal itself is engaging, like you're saying with Death Stranding's walking. And I think that's what a lot of open world games miss, is that you are just walking from motive to motive, like objective to objective, and that just becomes very stale. It's like, what's the point?
See, early on, the old when Grand Theft Auto was setting the tone for open world games, there was like a heavy traversal element in the Grand Theft Auto games. You couldn't just fast travel to the mission providers. You had to get in a car and figure out how to get to the place where you needed to be. There was the risk that you might, turn into a police car on the way there and then have to shake them off before you get to the destination. There was this constant pushback from the world that prevented you from getting to places. And that's just not present in a lot of modern open world games. Horizon, it's just line up and go to a place. Mind's Eye is a vehicle focused open world that's sort of broke off from the GTA as a concept. But I think the main thing that leaped out to me to it is that there's no consequence for smashing into anything as you're driving through the city. There's no police.
Which is GTA's whole thing.
Yeah. The whole reason GTA works is because of the pushback from the police. There's none of that in Mind's Eye. It's literally just an empty city that you have to drive across before you can go to the next story mission.
Yeah.
I would say even having police pushback doesn't make GTA interesting in that regard, because like Mafia 3 is open world and its mission design is so repetitive and has police pushback, but the world doesn't do anything. GTA's open world is interesting because it's so reactive. You can mess around with it in so many different ways. Like those are the types of open worlds I really dig, because like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is very much that, a very reactive open world where you do a lot of different things and it affects things around you. But like Assassin's Creed is so static. You go do the mission, you do your mission, but anything you do in that world doesn't have any effect on any other part of the world.
You don't get a sense of humanity to the NPCs that populate the world, I suppose, is the problem. Because you just go to a place and there's just more dudes there. And it never feels like you're going to stumble upon someone with actual personality, like in GTA.
Yeah. Like Elden
actions
Ring
will affect them, right?
Yeah. Elden Ring's open world, like, the reason I love that open world so much is because there's discovery everywhere, and I'm always working for something. I'm going to a mine to get upgrade materials, or I'm going to a boss area to get a new weapon, or just finding the way forward into the next boss area. Like there's so much. There's no hand holding and directing you where you need to go outside of those the shrines or whatever that tell you this is the general direction you need to go, but you have to figure out where you're going to go.
It's like a cascade. It's they frame key big motives like the castles and the areas you need to go very clearly, even from the first bonfire when you get out of that catacomb. And then in between those areas, there is like just a cascade of more motives which take you down more rabbit holes, and then you just get lost. And I think that's another thing about open worlds that I think more devs need to kind of lean into, is the idea of getting lost. Not in the sense of I don't know where I'm going, but being sidetracked by other things that could be interesting, rather than just setting a marker.
Sidetracking is a good word, because that's the essence, basically the essence of what an open world is that there's side stuff.
Yeah.
But that
I
side
would
stuff
say that
sometimes, I think it depends on the quality of that side stuff, though, because like that's unfortunately, I think a lot of developers have taken get lost and do all the side stuff as put as much shit as possible in our open worlds, so that you don't just mainline the story.
Yeah, there's a lot of games where even the side stuff is in the form of like mission threads.
Yeah,
I never liked the sort of game like Dead Island leaps to mind, where there's like one place where all the humans live, and that's where all the quest givers live, and you have to go around them and collect quests from all of them, and then they all make you go out to different parts of the sandbox. So you just have to go out and just wrangle up whatever needs doing, and then go back to turn it all in. I prefer the sort of side quest that you can just sort of stumble into as you're going train. Like if you're driving down the road and suddenly, like in Red Dead Redemption 2, someone pulls you over and says, "Hey, could you help me out?" And then it's a fucking ambush from bandits.
Yeah, the whole
like stuff that
go talk to NPC to get your next thing is the most annoying design trend.
Yeah, I think as well, like meaningful rewards is really important. Like people can have intrinsic motivation of, I just want to overcome this challenge, I just want to see what's here, but having a meaningful extrinsic reward for doing side content is really important to have people want to pull those threads. There's been so many games recently where I've been playing and I've just not wanted to engage with the side content because it's side content, so it's like not the most thrilling stuff ever, and they don't give meaningful rewards. I think Elden Ring is so good for this example, because no matter what you're engaging with, you're always getting like souls, runes. You're always potentially going to stumble upon new weapons to use, and there's always something you can get, or like new summons from defeating bosses. So when you see a cave, you're like, oh, this isn't just going to be like some bandits and like a chest with 2 gold in it. The act of going and defeating those things is going to give me rewards to then help me overcome the greater challenges later in the game. So if you don't have a meaningful extrinsic reward, I think you're kind of losing a lot of your audience.
Well, that's how I feel.
Well,
about
you guys are both game designers. Why is it that loot these days is always like an just a menu item and not something I can actually go find in the world? Like that's what like Skyrim is so good at exploration, because like there's a sword and I can see it and I can go pick it up. Right. Like at the end of the dungeon there's gonna be a cool bow on a shelf or something like that. But every game now is an open chest item, menu item. Like there's no actually finding the item that you want to pick up.
It's a good question.
Why is that?
I'm sure there's multiple factors. Part of it might be because, they're already modeled, because they're usually like, if it's like a sword with your example, if it's an interactable thing, it's already modeled. So why can't we place that in the world? One, you have to then make systems for picking objects up, which isn't incredibly difficult unless you're doing physics systems like they do in Skyrim, when you can like fling things around. But also it is just easier to give people UI elements and say, hey, you picked up food, right? You can just put it in your inventory and then click it to eat it. You don't need to animate grabbing it, picking it up, putting it in your mouth. It's like a resource thing.
Yeah, resources and all that, I understand, like, but loot in general is like, man, I want to have to go find the sword at the back of the cave of Elden Ring. I don't want to just grab a chest. I want to work
kind of ties in. I think this ties into the whole gacha game thing, because at its heart, gacha game stuff is just resource grinding. Yeah. And a lot of people just want, hey, you completed this quest, you get 500 of this, 200 of this, 100 of this, and then you can use that to craft the next weapon upgrade to increase your attack by 3. It's just number go up. It's like the stock market for the people who like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking
like
very
also.
I'm thinking back to like the older Pokemon games, like specifically Emerald, where like sometimes you would just stumble upon legendaries in the world, like the Reggies, when you had to do like the different puzzle solutions to get to them.
Pokemon is a great example. So When they've recently made the shift to having Pokemon be visible in tall grass so you can target specific Pokemon, I for one love this system, but I think it also does take away from some of the randomly stumbling upon specific monsters. But that's the same thing with loot. When you see a legendary in the tall grass, you actively go for that. But if it randomly shows up, like the shock of encountering it is slightly greater with the random encounter. But I think being able to target things and actually be able to, like, I remember I love making EV teams, like evolution teams in Pokemon. And so when they changed it to seeing them in the tall grass, I would be like hunting for EVs. And when I would see one, I'd be like, oh my God, like I'd be overjoyed. So which system is more gratifying, right? There's no, I don't think there's any right answer.
Well,
I think there's a difference between the randomization though, and also picking an objective and going for it.
Of course, yeah.
The journey getting to that sword rather than, because even like I remember, what was it, Rayquaza? You have a journey to get to Rayquaza because you have to do like those bike puzzles up in the tower to get up to him.
Yeah.
But he's at the top of the tower. You've seen him go up there, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the journey, yeah. But that's motives, right? You have a motive, and then the journey to it is entertaining, right? So the traversal is entertaining.
Speaking as a game designer and someone who believes in primary gameplay loop-focused design, I like an open world where you do side stuff to make yourself stronger, so you get better at the core gameplay, and can then feel ready to move on to stronger stuff later on. And the more side stuff you do, the faster you get. The faster that process of getting stronger is.
And then overcoming the challenge, even if it's easy or easier, you have the gratification of knowing that you built yourself up to that. Like there's times in early Souls games where I've actively farmed because I've struggled with a boss and then it became trivial. But I didn't go, oh, that boss was easy then. It's worked to get to that ease. So there's satisfaction in that as well.
Yeah, you're talking about soft challenge versus hard challenge. Soft challenge you can overcome if you just grind up your abilities and get your numbers high enough. Hard challenges where you literally have to get better at the game to be good at. And either creates that sense of fulfillment.
Side content does both though, right?
Yeah. Side content you can, if you do so. I like doing a side content and finding like a specific item I wouldn't have found otherwise that really makes things a lot easier.
Especially if it's...
I don't get that type of gratification from open world games anymore, just because I think I've played so many of them. I think the open world games I've really gravitated towards now are the ones that really just... the side content doesn't feel like side content. It's just part of the world. So, I mentioned Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, but Atomfall feels like that too. I've been playing some of that lately.
What I liked about Indiana Jones and whatever it was, the Great Circle.
Great Circle.
Yeah. It was an open world game, but it had like hub-based open world stuff.
Yeah.
And I liked how if you did a side mission, it didn't feel like taking a break from the main plot. It felt like it was still the main plot, but we were just like watching the director's cut extra scenes that were removed from the like theatrical cut.
Yeah. It would give you more information to then tackle the main. Like I've had Nick will know this. I've had a video in the works on the Vatican for Indiana Jones for a long time because I think it's one of the best levels ever made, and it is impressive. And it reminds me actually of a game that I've started playing in the last couple of days. Started playing Hitman: World of Assassination, the trilogy of Hitman games. I haven't properly dived into a Hitman game since I was young. Those levels are mad, like actually insane. How many different ways of tackling the objectives and the way it unfolds, because it's similar to Indiana Jones. There's like a hub open world. It's like you can go, you have the tools to go anywhere and do anything in this world. You just need to figure out how those things naturally unfold, and your objectives change based on the information you stumble upon. You need to kill X and do X, but how you do that changes based on the small things you stumble upon.
Yeah.
Super impressed. It's so impressive.
See, the GTA problem and the Red Dead Redemption problem is that there's kind of two modes. You either do plot missions in which you're sort of locked into a linear sequence of events, or you do open world fuckabouts. And open world fuckabouts is there that almost sort of entirely separate from the other side. You get into a story mission in GTA 4, it completely doesn't acknowledge the fact that you're like wanted by the police for multiple murder and like
You've gone on a
causing massive
rampage, yeah.
pileups throughout the rampage. And I prefer, frankly, a game that allows you to sort of flip between the two. I don't like it. I don't like a game that sort of locks you into a story mission and has you walk past a place that has some side content and then says, "No, you can't do the side content. You're in the mission. If you stray from the mission path, it's instant fail."
It seems like it'd be very hard to design and make work correctly.
All right? Because how do you write a narrative for a core story that is engaging and has urgency, so the player wants to engage with it, but can also be sidetracked away from?
Well,
that must be a narrative hell.
You can de-emphasize linear storytelling and do something like more in sort of a Dark Souls vein, where it's more a sort of immersion storytelling model.
What you're asking for is pretty much almost exactly what Adamfall did, right?
Yeah. It encouraged you to explore, didn't tell you exactly where to find stuff, and you just gradually sort of, by the process of Brownian motion, eventually find your way to the story beats.
Yeah, I've definitely, it feels like open worlds that were just large for the sake of being large are kind of slowing down in their release cadence. I'm sure we're gonna get Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon 3, which is gonna do all that again. But
I think we've seen games that have pushed the limit of how big an open world can be.
And then if it, yeah,
I mean, I'm sure
fill it with.
I'm sure technology could make larger ones, but we've reached like the point where making it any bigger isn't going to improve the game experience.
Yeah,
I mean, we kind of did that with Just Cause 2. That was like famously 35 miles across each axis, just a massive world. And
Daglies put fun things to find in the world. Like you can find an island of Lost in it.
That game was fun because you could, spawn a jet plane and just fast like super speed your way across the map by various arcane methods.
And the chaos was part of the main narrative rather than it being adjacent to, like you're saying, with the
I still say, it's a good game, but I still say Red Dead Redemption 2 is too big. The world. I think there's way too much. Yeah, there's way too much commuting in that game.
Because the traversal is so tied to the horses rather than being able to get a plane or a fast car or a bike or something like that. I think gamers are moving away, I hope, from the idea of that bigger is better in every sense. Like I was saying, like 15 years ago, how graphically intensive the game was or how big the open world was like the metric of how good the game was before it came out. And it's like, our game is like this big. But I think we're starting to realize that, if you don't have the fun within that world and you're just walking from thing to thing, it just becomes a chore. So
you've been covering games a long time. Do you remember the game Fuel?
Don't think I ever played it. I wasn't really a driving game person.
Yeah, I remember that specifically the marketing for that game was like, the world is 100 kilometers. You can drive across the entire thing. Yeah, and everybody got their hands on it. It was the most barren.
I have played The Crew 2, and got a similar experience from that.
Right, you can traverse all of America in The Crew 2, right?
And also Mario Kart World to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
You can. It is quite an amazingly large world that has quite a lot of in-betweeny space between the actual racetracky bits. It's just not that interesting.
Yeah, like Death Stranding.
I actually think
and Death Stranding 2 are huge. Like their worlds are fucking massive. But
still not.
It doesn't expect you to go.
Still not representative of the actual continent of Australia, but it's quite big.
But also, like, it doesn't even expect or plan for you to use all of it.
No.
And the way they structure like how you move through objectives in the world makes use of most of it, weirdly enough.
I also think adding open worlds to a game might seem like a tack on. Let's see if we can get some more sales from saying we have an open world, but it has such a drastic impact on the design of a game. Like Mario Kart World, for example, I think it was actively harmed because they added the open world, because they were like, how are we going to justify this? Well, let's do these in between intermission tracks to go from course to course, which in theory sounds interesting, but in exploration it just becomes straight lines from track to track, and
you're not really
I think that
paying
hurts
attention.
a lot of the casual player base.
You're not really paying attention to that when you play Mario Kart. You're worrying about, the other races, collecting your power-ups and getting
Well, and that
drifts.
becomes even harder to do because the kind of like, I can't remember what I called it in my episode, but like the twat zone is the zones between like 3rd and 10th is just chaos. When you're just going in a straight line, the entire race becomes that. And it's just this permanent chaos rather than these like little microcosms of it. So,
God, I do hate it when I'm get hit by that blue shell and get stuck in the twat zone for a couple of laps.
right? And when it's just straight, there's no way for you to express yourself through taking drifts, corners slightly harsher so you can overtake someone. And I think that's why they've had to make the what is it? I'm completely blanking on the name. Where you drive behind someone and you kind of go in their like clean air zone and overtake them. They've made that really aggressive, and I think it's taken away a lot of the skill expression from those straight tracks. But
speaking as someone with a narrative gameplay interest, I do think open world is detrimental to linear storytelling, as discussed with the Grand Theft Auto example. But there's also does something to the atmosphere. If you've ever played Silent Hill Downpour, they tried to create an open world element in a survival horror setting, and that really didn't work for me. I think something similar happens with Batman Arkham City, because in Arkham Asylum, it's got a very tightly paced narrative and this very sort of oppressive atmosphere, as it feels like, the whole world is against you. And Arkham City doesn't create that effect simply because it is an open world and you're free to go wherever you want. You're not being like led down paths by the machinations of the plot. So it doesn't have that same atmosphere of dread. And Downpour has the same problem.
Yeah, you mentioned Downpour, the Evil Within 2, I feel like suffered from open world too.
Evil Within 2 as well. I mean, there shouldn't be side quests in a survival horror game. I'm going to say that now.
It kind of worked in Silent Hill 2 remake though a little bit. Just because you didn't really know where you were going, so you kind of stumbled into those things.
Yeah, that was always like the original Silent Hill as well. There was like an element of stumbling around the town at the start,
Well,
but throughout the whole process, you're being funneled in a specific direction.
Yeah.
Through to the key items you're collecting. But that's my question. At what point does something like Silent Hill 2 or like Hitman, when does a game become classified as open world? When all of its objectives are in one central big location?
I think, again, it just comes down to having side content and a focus on side content. I think an open world game is one where you can like explore and discover a random collectible on top of a hill somewhere.
I don't know. I'd classify those like a sandbox level.
What's the difference?
Design.
What's the difference between a sandbox and open world? No.
Like you still go from one area to the next in a let's say a loading instance. So Hitman has open levels, but it's not open world, I wouldn't say.
Sandbox is the better way of describing Hitman. I agree with that.
Like I would, like Witcher 3 is very much open world, but I would say like Darksiders 2, very open levels, but not open world.
Okay.
Yeah, you're moving from area to area. I think openness is a key feature, and also I agree with Yahtzee of like having a focus on side content is a feature of it, but also having all of the core locations in one large area that you bounce between them.
That could also describe a Metroidvania, though.
I mean, Metroidvanias are technically open world.
Technically, they are. Right, the world is open. You just need to get specific items to be able to progress.
I didn't
But then
think
again,
of.
you are locked behind things, so
I
maybe
think of
not.
an open world is like a like a meadow, and a Metroidvania is like a plate of spaghetti. It's all like intertwined roots rather than an open space.
Yeah.
Yeah, on reflection, can you consider something open if it's just a series of doors? It's not
Yeah.
that are locked, that you have to find keys. It's like not really
Most
really
of an
open.
world.
It's sort of turning a locked linear path into an open world, I suppose.
So what is
Yeah,
it?
eventually.
What is it that you guys look for in if a game is going to be open world? Like, what do you look for these days?
Traversal, traversal, traversal.
That's it.
Yeah, traversal.
It has to be core gameplay loop. The primary gameplay loop is king.
No.
As long as
I mean, like, what
needs-
makes it fun for you?
That's what makes
Traversal.
it fun. It needs to
The
be fun and
traversal, yeah.
interesting from a moment to moment basis, and traversal is what creates that. Whether it be
Yeah.
fun to
And-
traverse because it's challenging, like in Death Stranding or GTA, or if it's fun to traverse just because it's cathartic, like in Just Cause or Spider-Man. That is the key.
Yeah, I think
And the
for
side
me as
and
well.
the quest and the quest of the side. Sorry, Jay. And the quest of the side
It's all right.
content should just create excuses to do the traversal.
Mhm.
That's what it is.
To engage with the core gameplay loop, right?
Yes.
I agree with the arts there. I think the core gameplay loop needs to be explored within its traversal, whether the traversal is the main core loop or not. And I think the best example of that is me coming into this and being like, "Hey, when I've seen footage of Death Stranding, it looked kind of boring." And then you guys describe the moment to moment gameplay in between, and I'm like, "I'm sold." Right? I'm sold on that. I can do that, and I think that's what Elden Ring doesn't necessarily have a fun traversal mode, but it's in between sections of between its core motives, encourage you to engage with its core gameplay more and more, and reward you for that. I think having
Yeah.
rewards for engaging with its content, whether that's side or core, is core to the experience, and that just ties itself back into the core gameplay loop.
Well, the traversal element of Elden Ring is that there's always something to discover, and there's always enemies pushing back against you as you explore.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
Shall we go to super chats?
Well, I was gonna wrap that up with like I like the open worlds lately that kind of like lock you off from it, and not in a level gating way, because Assassin's Creed just does that. Like you can't go to certain areas because they're level 25. I like
that's what I tend to call golf course design. Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, like you can't go into the winter area until you get the gear that you need to go there. Like I like having objectives that open up the world to me and actually make it like I can't just walk out of my house and walk, all the way to California. I need to figure out a way to get there.
Yeah, you're given new motives by the game. They're like, you want to go to the ice area? Okay, how do I figure this out? And that engages you to look at the world. I hate games that are open, that do not encourage me to care about where I am or what I'm looking at. Assassin's Creed Shadows is one of those games, and Antfall is a great example.
And any game that sort of covers the screen with objective indicators, so you're looking at that rather than the actual world.
That's what that's what disappointed me so much about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Is like we designed the game around you can turn off all the UI elements and all that and make it so it is more discovery focused. But then it's like, well, I can't find anything because it's all there's nothing here.
I got whiplash in Hitman as I was playing this morning because I went up into the attic and there was this safe and they were like, "Oh, if you find the combination to the safe, you can get in and get some samples or something." And they were like, he keeps it somewhere. And I went, cool, I will try and find his office or his bedroom or something. But then, and I was like, isn't this great how it's just trusting me to find this? And then a UI element popped up telling me exactly where to go. And I went, fuck off. So I got whiplash from that.
Yeah. Atomfall does that pretty well. Like it just says, find such and such in this castle. And then you go, okay, well, let's explore this castle, look for what looks like the most important room in the castle.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or go to a lab, find a thing in lab. I will look for something that looks lab adjacent, right? I will look at the environment.
The best open world game that none of us have mentioned here yet, the original Crackdown. That game tied all of its everything into traversal.
Yeah, I could spend hours in that game just looking for agility tokens.
Yep. and I'm sad they messed it
But,
up with
like-
Crackdown 3.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So that comes full circle on the side content. There is engaging with its core mechanic of traversal, and its rewards are feeding back into it to make it better. So
Yeah.
then engaging with it again and hunting for it, your motivation to then look for those things are
Did
even
you
greater.
did you ever play
for sure.
Crackdown, Jay?
Oh yeah, I love Crackdown.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
the OG, I like 2 as well. I haven't
2,
I haven't played 3.
Yeah,
I didn't remember particularly hating 2, but I do remember hating 3.
Yeah, I did not like 2, but I love 1, and just being able to, a core memory for me is being able to get powered up enough to climb to the top of the agency tower and getting that achievement.
Well,
Yeah.
there's games we haven't mentioned, like Spider-Man games that have always been super engaging because the moment-to-moment gameplay between the combat scenarios was fun. The same with
Yeah.
Prototype. Really
Yep.
liked Prototype because just going around the world and being a agent of chaos was so engaging.
I
You know?
still
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's
say
all-
like their open worlds are interesting though. I'd say just the core gameplay of it's interesting, but the world
Well,
Yeah,
itself.
traversal is interesting, not the
But
Yeah.
there's
the actual
always that
environment.
there's always that moment in the Spider-Man game where you whip yourself up to the highest point on the map and jump off
Yeah.
and then try to web swing before you hit the ground. Like,
Yeah.
but
Classic.
delay it as long as possible.
Classic.
That'd be a good Battle Master challenge, actually. Who can
You can
like
get
web away
closest to the
from-
ground.
Who can get closer to the ground without dying? Like we call it Spider-Man chicken.
One of my one of my very first YouTube videos, like one of my most popular YouTube videos, was just taking an airplane in Just Cause 2 and going up as high as I could, and then jumping out and seeing how long it took me to hit the ground.
Yeah, it takes
It
a
was like
while.
it was like 8 minutes to hit the ground.
I would
Yeah,
pay
that
good
does
money
seem
for a new
pretty
Just
mad.
Cause game.
Well, there's 4 to choose from, but 2 of them kind of suck. Although I never really played the first one.
Next gen one.
First one, yeah. Nobody really played the first one. Everybody played the demo of the first one. It was Just Cause 2 that really took the series off.
Who?
Yeah, sort of the Street Fighter 2 situation.
But the allure of it really wore off for me really quick in 3.
3 was all right. I remember really
never
like disliking
touched 3.
4.
Yeah, nobody liked 4.
No. All right. All these lovely people have spent money for us to read their things out. So let's do that. Oh, look who it is. It's Raven with $5 with his weekly word of the week, apoplectic. Welcome back, Yachts. It means extremely angry, as in Yahtzee was apoplectic that Raven keeps pulling out weak source obscure words for him to talk about.
Have you ever won that with that word in like Scrabble or anything?
No. Not for that word.
Big
no.
Scrabblehead yards.
No one plays Scrabble with me because I win
wonder
too much.
why.
He wins too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to semi-regularly play words with friends with a few people, but one by one they all stopped wanting to like return my games.
That
I was like,
that
what?
wor-
Pussies?
that word
As you
outro
put
game
down
came
pussy
out.
as a word.
Yeah.
Have you played the word outro game yet?
No, I've played a bunch of that sort of thing, and you do like the spelling bee on the New York Times app pretty much every day. That
Oh.
has to tide me over usually.
Mm.
Anyway, Carlutius gives €5. It says, congratulations on last week's episode. It was so funny and light-hearted. Go off the rails. I love it. No offense, Yahtzee. Love your books. Try sourdough.
A lot
Boy, that was pinging around all over the place, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, last episode did get a bit unhinged. I will not apologize.
Okay. Well, Jack was there. And
It was
that's
Jack,
what
Marty,
explains-
and me.
that explains
It
that.
was that's a sourdough recipe right there.
there you go.
Oh,
What's up with
was he
you?
all right?
Is he hiccuping or barking?
You all right? Got something you need to say to the nice people?
Tell him.
Pay attention, everyone. He's about to address the world. Okay.
Nope,
Toffee
he's
says,
going
ooh.
back to sleep. So why the fuck did you wake me up?
Why did you interrupt my lovely podcast, asshole?
Wait.
Anyway, Frog in a Bin gives $4.99 and says nothing, but then gives another $4.99 to say In a nutshell, meaningful side content that has a satisfying narrative in itself and low to stroke zero UBFAF, or side content that aids the main objective.
Ubisoft.
See, I don't always want all the side content to have its own narrative, because then again we get into situations where you have to go to the NPC to get this shit started. Sometimes I like to
side content.
just stumble into stuff.
Yeah, or
finding a treasure map in Assassin's Creed Black Flag and going to where the treasure map says and finding the treasure. That's a fun little thing that doesn't need any additional story attached to it.
it just needs a meaningful reward, right? You understand you'll gain something, right? And especially if that ties itself back into the main narrative. Once I learned that side content will help me complete the main scenario in Indiana Jones, I then started caring, and then that's how you become invested in side content narrative and stuff like that. I mean, that kind of dwindles the further you get into Indiana Jones, which you've covered before, Yachts, but it's such a great opening, though.
Yeah, I'm very tired of the standing around NPC.
The exclamation
I'm gonna wait here. Yep, I'm gonna wait here. I need this thing done, like in Dragon Age of Aelgard. I need this thing done, and I will stand here until you specifically come tell me you're gonna do it for me.
It's very video gaming.
Yes, it's very specifically makes me think of playing MMOs.
Yeah, it's very MMO design.
It's very like Hub City in World of Warcraft. Like there's one quest giver with like 500 fucking players clustered around them.
My child is lost. I'll just wait until you're ready to come find them.
Yes, I ain't going out there.
I left my bag in that cave.
I don't love my child that much.
I'll just come back later when you're ready.
Dr. Theo gives $5 and says, currently 6, so I can barely think, but here's my weekly donation anyways. Thank you very much, Dr.
Cheers,
Theo.
Theo.
Hope you feel better soon.
Get better soon, Bert.
Juicy Jeff gives $5 and says, JM8, I've been on the edge of my hotel corner seat since last week. Please indulge me with your secret cuck chair knowledge.
It's not that secret.
You
You kind of discovered it yourself through the super chat. Basically, I noticed that in every hotel I went to, there was a chair in the corner, and it's always in the corner facing the bed. Like, not at a desk, it's always facing the bed. So I'm like, that is the cuck chair.
You know, I remember you saying that, so I kept an eye out for one in the hotel I was in Monterey, and there wasn't one.
Somebody took
Oh my god, it's a cuckless room. You've won the jackpot. You've won.
Well, the room already knew you had kids.
Oh shit! I just remembered there was a small couch next to the desk. Fuck.
Oh, well.
You're the cuck couch. You got the double.
And I had to sit on that to use my laptop while everyone else was still asleep first thing in the morning.
No.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, my brain.
Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, Yahtzee, heard of Thief 2X, Shadows of the Metal Age, a fan-made expansion where you play a lady thief named Zaya who steals from smugglers and zombies? No, I haven't. But I've got other shit to do.
Did
today I was going to have a crack on Persona X and see if they've officially ruined Persona 5 forever.
Did Marty tell you there's a new Thief game coming?
Yes, it's VR, and I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I really don't want to know. Thank you. Eero Peltonen gives €2 and says, I gave you €2 and you mispronounced my name. Rude. Oh, it is to laugh. Do let us know how that was supposed to be pronounced.
Give us another €2.
Yeah, and then Impy gives another €2 and says, Just Cause 2 let you hijack a plane and ride it. Yes, it
lets
did.
you do a lot of things with
Mid-air.
planes.
Yeah, you could do all kinds of stuff.
Chaos.
Tsunami Dusha gives $20 and says nothing, as is his want. Round of applause. Kramer runs into the room in Seinfeld, and we move on. Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says collectible checklist, fun movement, and engaging campaign is all I need for fun. Sonic Frontiers, Spider-Man, Infamous 2, and Sunset Overdrive are for me. See, I don't like games where they just have collectibles, and the collectibles is literally just 100% completion. There's no additional benefit, and all the icons for the collectibles are marked clearly on the map, showing precisely where they are.
Like Crackdown
Where's
is so
the
good because all the collectibles relate.
Where's
right
the
to your
fun in that?
character.
That's literally going down a laundry list. Where's the fun in that?
Yeah, I've never cared about like 100% in a game to find all the collectibles. Just has never like I'm like these are things I will never have in my life. I don't care.
If I
There's
am,
like, yeah.
if I'm apocalyptically bored and I've finished a game and I just want to piss around, like enjoying the traversal mechanics, then I might indulge in 100% collectibles side quest, but only if I'm off the clock.
There's like a horizon point for me. It's like once I'm past it, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna get them all. But also, again, speaking about side content and rewards, when you know that, so Astrobot, for example, has lots of collectibles that could be very meaningless if if you just left them as is. But because they're used to open new levels and gain new things, you have a want to look around and try and find them, and they're not just marked on the map for you to just trudge towards, because at the end of the day, once you mark it on the map, it just becomes a motive that you walk towards, and that's not fun. Let me look.
Xanaman gives €5 and says, many modern open worlds are super formulaic. You know exactly what each location contains. Open world should give freedom for devs to add all their cool ideas. I'm sort of tangentially addressing this sort of thing in this week's Semi-Ramblomatic, which is on the subject of the standard Mario biome checklist of grasslands, desert, forest, jungle. No, sorry. Grasslands, desert, ocean, jungle, ice world, fire world, boss. Because in retrospect, there's a surprising number of games that fit that template. Even Dark Souls 2 has grasslands, desert, ocean, jungle, ice world, fire world, boss.
Yeah.
I just went back to Star Wars Outlaws for a little bit over the weekend, and I like that a lot of their like open world side activities go on like full adventure.
Yes, and one of the planets is a grasslands planet, and one of the planets is a desert planet.
There's a snow planet too.
And yes, there we go. Ice world,
when I
is there a
stopped
fire
playing.
world. I know some Star Wars games have had fire worlds. There's that one.
Yeah, Mustafa's in it a lot.
Yeah, Mustafa.
Yeah.
The only good thing about games
there's
for
always
me,
a city location too.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only thing for me that I like about that game is the fact that the villain's motivation is his car, and he's just pissed off about his car. And it's not like I'm trying to destroy the world and I'm evil and I've got a nuke. He's just like, I'm really upset that you fucked with my car and I have the resources to try and find you. And I think that's really fun.
Imagine if like they made a new Street Fighter game where the main villain was the guy whose car you beat up in Street Fighter 2 in between stages.
Love it. Love it. I like smaller motivations. I like them to make sense for the character.
Small, understandable motivations. Yeah. There you go. Bewittism gives $5 and says, Red Dead Redemption 2's open world stays with me. Something about a world where your reasons for engaging with it are stripped from you as the narrative progresses. Yes, spoiler alert. Yes, sort of. And then there's an 8-hour tutorial with a completely different character.
Yeah.
8-hour epilogue, I should say.
I agree with you, though. It's like with a lot of your criticisms with the open world of Red Dead 2. I think that game is unbelievably gorgeous. I think it's an extremely pretty game. But there are large stretches of doing nothing but just driving from one place to the other. And you might encounter something like an ambush or a small side quest, but they're usually rather small, like what Nick was saying about Outlaws. Not to give Outlaws praise in Red Dead 2, but in Outlaws, that you were saying the side quests lead you into these adventures rather than like they feel like little micro things in Red Dead 2. So
that's triple A.
Red Dead 2. Some of the stuff you stumble in leads into a lot of weird narrative things. Like there's the I just saw it on social media not too long ago. Like there's like this house that you can stumble upon where a woman's like son has died, or you kill her son in some mission, and then you stumble upon her house in the world, and it leads into a whole another storyline that has nothing to do with the main. Like there's a lot of random.
Nosferatu is my favorite thing in that game. You can stumble upon a vampire, which is really fun.
I think I mean Red Dead 2 is like massive open world, but I think part of that is the journey that you take through the world, kind of Death Stranding-ish.
Yeah.
Like you can't just go anywhere. You do have to figure out how to traverse it.
Yeah, for sure.
Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, "Can't enjoy Wind Waker's sailing because I'm impatient." Well, perhaps you need to reassess your life then.
might I suggest Skull and Bones?
Or play the Wind Waker re-release for Wii U that added that sail that changed the wind direction for you. Sussiguru 2000 gives €5 and says, "Hidden secrets, impromptu archaeology in ancient ruins filled with stories of the long dead, forgotten history." I guess that's what they like in open world games.
Or
To each their own.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's Indiana Jones.
I remember is it Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood where you can follow the side quests to get like the black assassin's outfit, and it gives you like hidden powers.
Yeah.
And there's like the octopus in the water that always freaked me out. Like that's fun.
Is
Like
that
again,
Revelations?
rewards. I want to engage with this because it's going to give me a thing.
I think every Assassin's Creed game from I think 2 onwards had the special armor that you had to do lots of side questing in the world to unlock.
I'd rather that than just feathers on top of buildings.
There you go. Double Finger gives €5 and says, "Surely not the first to mention this, but many open world games feel more like minimap and icons games, no incentive to observe the actual world at all." Yeah, I had that problem playing like Horizon. Like if everything's indicated with icons, that's all you find yourself looking at, and they clearly think the world's gorgeous because in all the trailers for the game they remove the UI, so you're just seeing the world. Then when we actually get to that bit in the game, everything's covered in icons, and that's all you're looking at.
You think
yeah.
like the Horizon games would benefit from a traversal system like Death Stranding, or do you think it's just too different of a game to make it really work like that?
Well,
I feel like they'd be better if they were smaller.
What would make Horizon a better open world game?
The size.
Is it the
I think
size?
the UI elements are a symptom of making games too big. And like when you make them too big and you stretch them out, devs don't have time to put meaningful things between them. So the devs don't want you just meandering around a small forest where there's nothing, because that's going to remind players that there is nothing there. So they have to put UI elements to tell you where to go, and then it just becomes a walk in straight line to UI element.
Horizon games like are games that I want to explore. I just never feel like the payoff is all that worth it.
Well, what if you had a Just Cause 2 style grappling hook and parachute combo?
Don't you have that in Horizon 2?
I can't remember.
You have a grappling hook and a paraglider thing.
Well, I guess they didn't use it properly then.
But yeah, it's not like physics driven or anything like that, like Just Cause is.
Anyway, Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, "Do you consider 3D hubs open worlds in a tiny sense?"
What do you mean by 3D hubs?
It'd be like, what is it? Doesn't one of the Wolfensteins have like a hub where you go from? Yeah, the Youngblood, which everybody hated, but you have a hub that you go to get to other locations in the game.
Oh, like going back to Peach's Castle in Mario 64 or something.
Yeah, or like your home base in the altars. Is that what we're talking about?
I don't know. I wouldn't call that an open world. I think you're just going back to a big central area to then go into different sandboxes.
Well, anyway, Prime Paradiso gives £199 and says, "Rain and a good OST do it for me, like Uriah in XBC2. You like the rain, do ya?"
Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I think, is that.
Right.
People are upset that we did not mention that. I have never played one of those games. Though that is one of those games where like, I see people talk about how cool the huge open world is, and it's just like I'm like, I don't know.
I played the one that was on Wii U, Xenoblade Chronicles X, I think it was. But yeah, I don't remember being blown away. Anyway, Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, "Honest game trailers say if you take away collectibles and missions from open world games, you discover they're actually bland and empty. Would you agree?" Well,
yes.
Just play Mind's Eye and you'll find exactly what happens if you take away all the side collectibles and missions from an open world game.
Yeah, but also with that logic, if you remove all the ledges, gaps, and the ability to jump, Mario becomes very empty. There's a bit of a if you remove the things that make the game, it's no longer a game.
Yeah, it's not much of an argument, really.
Yeah.
Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, "Is Metroidvania open world just with locked doors?" Well, as I say, it's something that starts out linear and becomes open world, if you like.
And there's a lot of reward in that. That is the whole game. Is being able to access those areas becomes a reward.
The classic example for me is, as ever, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Because it starts off, like, in the first half of the game, you linearly traverse the castle. It's, like, unlocked bit by bit. And you gradually get, like, your head around how the whole physicality of the world works. And then, bam, the inverted castle. Exactly the same space, but upside down. But now you can go wherever you want and complete it in whatever order you like. And because you went through all the process of linearly exploring the first map, you're in a position to do that without feeling overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. It's immaculate. I'm surprised more games don't do the whole flipped environment thing. I guess it's because
everyone would say it was a Symphony of the Night ripoff. Yes, because it's such an idiosyncratic thing. I know, it's such a good idea, and it works so well.
I need to do an entire episode on Symphony of the Night. It's such a good game.
Yeah, pity about the GUI, as discussed in my similar subject.
Couldn't agree more.
You upset people with that one.
Well, fuck them. I mean, saying like Symphony of the Night's interface is actually good, really. It's like saying, I don't know, you enjoyed reading a book that was covered in like dog shit. I mean, I'm sure, the text is fine.
You made a mistake picking that book up in the first place.
Unfortunately, the pages were covered in dog shit. Anyway, Mr. Soul gives... He usually does, but thankfully his butthole is buried in towel at the moment.
Wrap him up.
Yeah. Blistered Soul gives $1.99 and says, "This reminded me I need to play Sable. That's open." Which one was Sable again?
Sable's the one where you build the sand bike.
Oh, yes. I thought for a moment it was the one with the dog with the paintbrush, but that's another thing entirely.
Yeah, that was one of those games that like everybody was really, really hyped for, and then I feel like nobody talks about it.
Well, I never played it. Maybe it came out at a bad time.
Played a few hours of it. I feel like it took a while to get going, and I understand the delayed gratification of building the bike and then having it be satisfying because you've had to traverse on foot for so long, but it kind of lost me.
Jeffrey of Monmouth gives $10 and says, "Fallout New Vegas unifies narrative and open world very well. Unify allies can be done in any order, but one may influence the next, and no qualms about killing you if you're not prepared in some areas." Hi.
Yeah. I dig that.
Mr. Snaps gives $5 and says, "The rapper Lil Ugly Mane has used lugubrious in a song. Bitch, I'm a rose and lugubrious. I'ma let the Uzi spit turn his face into gooey shit." Well, that's quite a tentative rhyme with lugubrious, but thank you for letting us know.
Someone found a thesaurus.
Also, I wouldn't associate lugubrious with the kind of mood that makes you want to shoot someone in the face with a Uzi. That feels like a different part of the emotional spectrum altogether.
Also,
this is the second time in a week that I've heard lugubrious, and I've never heard that word before until last week.
It's because Raven dropped it.
I know, it's been coming up on it's been the running gag because Marty can never remember what it means.
Yeah. I also think if you're using obscure language in your raps that most people who are listening need to look up, I think you've kind of lost the point.
Well, I am slightly annoyed by the way they the sort of cinematic shorthand to show that someone's smart is that they use lots of long obscure words.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bitch, that's how high school kids think of intelligence.
That's how so many game reviews are written.
It's like it's much more intelligent, I think, to be able to, craft your language to cater to your audience.
Or put your point across very effectively and quickly, right? Which is a lot of what rap lyrics do. It's strong wordplay over a shortened period.
Loquaciousness is not the same thing as articulacy. Write that down.
So he's doing it. He's doing the high school thing.
That is also the reason I started 3-minute reviews, because I got tired of editing reviews that were 2,500 words long, and it just
There you
has
say
so
nothing,
much flowery
right?
language in it. I'm
Yes,
like,
just-
what are you trying to say? Just tell me, is the game
Yes.
good or not?
Well, you're preaching to the choir there. There ain't
Yep.
shit that couldn't have half its words removed in
Yes.
Mhm.
in most cases. Anyway, the local
How long are your
Innsmouth gives
books?
5, always about 100,000 words and no more, which is the ideal length for a novel.
According to you.
Well, you know, novel's not supposed to be a short experience. There's plenty of short stories, and that's what you want. Novels are things for when you want to settle in and have a relaxing afternoon.
Very true.
Anyway, Ryan bets. Oh no, missed one. The local of Innsmouth gives $5 and says, "Open World's biggest strength is in environmental storytelling. Nothing like a lore corkboard, which is what makes Outer Wilds perfect. Cthulhu Calais."
Reds. That's the best thing about Outer Wilds
I
is
think-
that
Go ahead. Sorry.
that thought really popped into your head. Needed to come
did.
out.
It did.
The thing about Outer Wilds for me is that you have motives, which are the planets, and then as you encounter them, the information that you gather encourages you to have threads to follow, which take you to other motives, which then ping pong you around until you have all of the information needed. It's very genius. This was where I feel like the Metroidvania kind of terminology came from. With information is your core way to progress.
Yeah, I think a lot of
There you go.
game designers also took the environmental storytelling to mean just making environments interesting and not actually having that information be useful for anything.
Yeah,
Because a lot of people
if it
point at
doesn't-
Skyrim or Bethesda about how good their environment or even Obsidian games of there's a skeleton in there and there's a story behind it, but is that really useful?
Well, it doesn't necessarily
information?
need to be useful. If you see zombies banging on the door, and then you kill the zombie and go in the room, and there's a corpse on the floor with a gun in his hand, you can understand that the zombie was trying to get in and he killed himself. That is a small narrative being told through the environment, rather than someone telling you that over the PA. By the way, Steve's in that building. He says he's going to kill himself. I get where you're coming from, but also not everything needs to give you something meaningful, like in Outer Wilds and
Yeah.
stuff.
Wow, you wouldn't get on with Hideo Kojima. Yes. Okay, this plot twist happened. Now let's sit down and explain it for the next half hour, so we all know
Is
where
that
we
why
are.
Death Stranding's 50 hours long?
Pretty much. Let's make sure we're all ready for the comprehension test at the end. And it's still
Hey,
fucking
they give you-
incomprehensible. That's the funny part.
At least they give you an encyclopedia in 2.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And none of it fucking helps.
That does not surprise me at all. I'm not far enough in the know if it does.
Ryan Betts, member for 17 months in tip jar. Thank you very much. And then Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, "Is Psychonauts' powers tied to laundry list better?" Yeah, that's where your powers are upgraded based on what collectibles you find, I think. Yeah, that's fine.
It gives you
That's the
motives to do it.
That's the intrinsic reward. Ryan Betts gives another $5 and says, "We all know Marty's vacation is just him playing DS2, possibly Death Stranding, possibly Dark Souls, possibly any number of other things with the initials DS.
Or he went to
What was
Vegas.
the other one? Not Dead Souls, something. I know
Mine's in
there's a lot
Vegas.
of games with the initials DS. Dark Sector, that's another one.
Dark
Dark
Sector.
Sector, Darksiders, Dark Souls, Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I felt like there was a Dead one as well. Dead something.
Dead Space.
Anyway.
Dead
Dead
Space.
Space, thank you. Yes, that was it. AC and DS, the two most inexplicably popular two initials for video game titles.
Yeah. Oh, weird.
Next time, need a last minute topic. I think the auteur alignment chart idea was interesting.
I think that was a fun one. We should pull that out. Maybe.
I'm
We'll
trying
do
to
it
remember
next
what
week.
that
I want to be
was.
there for that.
Yeah, I remember
We were talking about
it, but yeah,
Kojima was chaotic neutral or chaotic good, and
it was yeah, it was like auteur versus committee design. He's
Yeah.
like auteur AAA. No, what was it? I don't know. I've forgotten. We'll have to think about
We'll
it.
work on it. We'll workshop it and we'll bring it for an episode in the future.
Anyway, Magnus Burkhoff gives 100 Norwegian kroners and says, Generation Zero is a cozy robot shooter set in Sweden during the autumn. Feels surprisingly like home and peaceful. Yes, the gameplay is basic, but the atmosphere is perfect. Mandatory, Norway is better than Sweden. Hey, none of us can tell the difference between you guys. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. We get you guys confused. Sorry.
Yeah.
And
It's
Finland,
like-
sorry.
It's like English people having a rivalry with Scottish people. Nobody outside there really gives a shit.
Nothing looks cozy about this footage we're watching. Is this the right game?
They just said the world is cozy. But,
Okay. Because
yeah.
it reminds him of home, which is
Yeah, I
Norway
guess.
and not Sweden.
Okay.
And I'm guessing they have giant robots outside their home trying to kill them every time.
Yeah, this
Well,
happens.
you know, they say there's a pretty good quality of life in Scandinavia, and if there were giant robots around, that could explain a few things.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're forced to
Everyone
say
likes to see the giant robots.
it.
Peter Parker SL gives $5 and says, I like an open world game where you can change the gameplay or story. Still waiting for a spiritual sequel to Red Faction Guerrilla. There was an actual sequel to Red Faction Guerrilla.
No,
It was called Red Faction
Armageddon.
and
That
it was
doesn't
shit.
count. It was awful. Ugh. How have we not gotten a new Red Faction Guerrilla? Like how?
AAA.
Well,
Like,
I don't know.
The destruction in
Well-
that game is still not beaten.
Well, you could play Teardown. That's got pretty good destruction in it.
I don't
if
get to
that's your
shoot
bag.
things and fight fascist Martian dudes.
Yeah, but the thing is, AAA is such a well, the games will either go on indefinitely forever and not change anything, Battlefield, or they'll have one bad release and it will destroy a franchise because the audience will just boycott it, and it's
THQ
so
Nordic
turbulent.
also died, or I mean THQ also died. Which
That is also a big
Yeah.
point.
I feel about Red Faction Guerrilla the same way I feel about Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. That they were both had this like extraordinary gameplay that there was probably a lot of tricks going on behind the scenes to get working, and those tricks probably aren't. No one's figured out how to do them with current tech.
The only people who could engage with that system are now like gone. They're somewhere else doing other things.
Man, it still annoys me to this day that like they showed off that cool cloud tech that probably didn't actually exist for Crackdown 3, where you could destroy the whole world. I was like,
Yeah.
so sad we didn't actually get that. But instead, we got ray trace reflections.
Yay.
Yay!
Sussy Guru 2000 gives €5 and says, sometimes it's all the vibe. Riding across the landscape and enjoying the countryside was one of my favorite things in Star Wars Outlaws. You are a bit of an outlier in liking Star Wars Outlaws, Sussy Guru 2000. It wasn't very good. And then Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, how do you hate GTA 5's railroading of mission structure when you criticized Watch Dogs 2's play it your way mission approach? Seems contradictory. Eat my ass, bitch. That's not the same thing at all. What you're talking about there is parallel gameplay systems like, oh, you could hack your way in, or you could open fight your way in, or you could stealth your way in. That's something else.
Yeah, those are two completely different things. Yeah.
I actually just tried to start up Watch Dogs 2 over the weekend again.
How many games were you trying to play on the weekend, Nick?
Did you
You should have been there for our backlog conversation.
No, I understand.
Monday.
I've been in moods like that where I'm really bored. I'm like, oh, I'd quite like to play such and such. Install it, play it for 2 minutes. Like, oh, I've just remembered this.
I do it
story.
too. But
Yeah,
I think it's impressive how many big AAA games Nick tried to start on the weekend.
I have Google Fiber. I can download them.
And you landed on Star Wars Outlaws of all games, which is impressive.
I wanted to play the DLC. I'm sorry, but I remembered why I didn't like Watch Dogs 2. It's just like it is one of the only games that I cannot get past the happy-go-lucky nature of the main character and being able to just shoot everything.
Oh, I fucking know. Yeah.
I just can't get past it. Yeah, like I can't get immersed in
Well, you
it.
should have silent protagonists.
Yeah. I hate those twats.
Everybody poo-pooed on Watch Dogs 1 Aiden Pierce, but turns out he might have been the better.
All you need to know about the characters in Watch Dogs 2 is that they go to Burning Man at one point in the course of the plot.
Oh, there you go. That's literally all you need to know.
I tried to start up Legion too, and like the tone is just so weird.
They're too British, he says. They're too
Yeah.
British. I can't
Yeah.
stand it.
Yeah.
Can you still see Toffee? He's fallen behind the cushion.
Yeah, you can see his little.
Yeah.
Ludo's laying under my desk like a little rat.
Milan Kosanovic gives $5.99 and says, Little Big Adventure 2, Twinston's Odysseys world was so large when I was a kid. Now that I replay it, the desert island went from vast to tiny. I remember Little Big Adventure. Few others do. They did like a remastered version of Little Big Adventure 1 that came out pretty recently.
You did a Yahtzee tries on that.
Yeah, and nobody noticed because it's still a pretty obscure game.
You've spoken about these before. They feel like games that don't exist that people are trying to gaslight me into saying that they do.
No, Little Big Adventure, I had it when I was a kid. It was a real thing.
They baffle me in the best way. I should probably play them.
It's a French game. That's probably why they're
all right. I'll
obscure.
pass.
It was made by Adeline Software, who also made a game called Time Commando. If you know that one, it was all had similar art style. Forget it. And then Permafrosty 79, probably because it's a very generic name.
Yeah.
There was a BBC TV series called Time Commanders, which was like a game show where people had to like win simulated battles, and they used like the Total War engine to create the simulated.
Did
battles.
they actually? That sounds great. I want to see that. I'm gonna watch that after this.
Anyway, Permafrosty 79, member for 15 months in Tip Jar, and that's it. That's all the super chats. Thank you so much for all the super chats. Remember, if you want to support our channel, super chats are a good way to do it. An even better way to do it is to join the Patreon for from as little as $1 a month. If you go up to $5, you get all kinds of additional content that we make just for the Patreon channel. And you can also take part in the vote. Is the voting closed, by the way, Nick?
Closes on Wednesday at the time that
Closes on Wednesday.
Medic drops.
Yes.
So far, seems like
at the
Sid
moment,
Meier's Pirates is going to be it.
Yeah, Sid Meier's Pirates is currently winning the vote for the Summer Game Drought game.
Wow.
And, I mean, it's not currently the Summer Game Drought. We're just doing the vote in anticipation.
What are the options?
Of the drought. The options were Danganronpa, as usual, Sid Meier's Pirates, Deep Rock Galactic, Factorio, Jade Empire, of all things, and Elden Ring Night Rain. But it looks like Sid Meier's Pirates are going to clinch it somehow of those six.
Danganronpa, always the second place. Always in the cup chair.
Or Danganronpa.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Hey, Joro says Danganronpa next year then. Hey, if you're not a patron, you could come in and vote and sway the vote and get Danganronpa on.
Yeah, get Danganronpa out of the cup chair.
Every fucking year they say Danganronpa next year. First year it was, what was it? Chrono Trigger beat it. The second year, Knights of the Old Republic beat it. And now it's going to be beaten by Sid Meier's Pirates.
It's really close. Hey guys, come on.
It's also an extraordinary range of games that are beating
they're very different.
Danganronpa every year. But anyway.
Is this list made from suggestions from the audience?
From Discord, yeah. Although Nick curates the suggestions.
Yeah, and I will not give away my method.
Because you don't have a method, Nick. You pick.
No, you just randomly picked. Just randomly picked 6 things that were mentioned in the Discord channel.
The world may never know.
There you go. Well, so that's the end of the Windbreakers podcast. Thank you for listening. Jewel Rowe, member for 16 months in the tip jar. Thank you very much. Don't forget, there's content every day here on the Second Wind channel. It never stops, even if we wanted to. It's like diarrhea.
We can't stop.
For example, my particular verbal diarrhea this week will include Fully Ramblomatic, which is me finally getting around to doing Mind's Eye. Now I'm on vacation. Sorry, it took me a while to get around to that one, but I still think there's things that need to be said about it. On top of the fact that it sucks ass. And Yahtzee Tries, my usual stream on Wednesday. Haven't decided what that's going to be about, but we'll figure that out. And then I have a semi-ramblomatic, as I already said, dropping on Thursday on the subject of Grasslands Desert, Ocean Jungle, Iceworld Fireworld Boss. And the final episode of Adventure is Nigh.
Season 4.
The finale for Season 4 is going out on Saturday. and there's some good Mortimer bits in it. So that's all the stuff that I'm going to plug because it's my stuff. Oh, one more thing. Steam Summer Sale still on for the next 3 days. Your last chance to get Starstruck Vagabond for a whole 50% off. Ooh, it's never been that cheap. Will it ever be that cheap again? You don't know. Better play it in case you missed out.
He's going to up the price.
All right, that's my stuff. Now do all that piddly little other stuff you people seem to care about.
Well, unfortunately, I'm going away on a bit of a holiday starting tomorrow. So there will not be a design delve next week, but I'm going to be working on some other stuff for you guys. And then I get back, and then we're immediately going on a trip somewhere. I'm not sure if I can reveal where or what. So we're going somewhere, and I'm going. So something I'm very excited about. But yeah, I'll be doing that. So you won't see me for a little while, but I'll make sure that I'm working on like a little interim video. So I'll have something for you guys on the in-between. But DevHeads is also taking a little bit of a shift as well because of that. So you'll see more of me when you see me. But till then, have a wonderful time. I'll say hello to my mother from you guys.
Yes. Ask her if she remembers me from that one beautiful night.
I will. I'm sure she does. I'm sure she thinks of it every day.
Why were you in the cuck chair, Yachts?
Yeah, his forehead was glistening in the coach chair.
Jay's dad was in the cook chair. Anyway.
Yep, I'll have a new episode of Unpacked out on Friday. I should be streaming tomorrow, as long as things align. And then I will have a new episode of Wishlist up on Sunday as well. And then, yes, well, I will be here next week. The week after I won't be here, though, for secret things. Secret things we can't talk about.
Oh my goodness. Ooh. Yes. Well, I guess that's it from us then. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Let's hope you remember to put it on Spotify this time.
Eric.